John, great to be here.
I longed over the years to speak to Barry Fitzgerald. Now I met the other Barry Fitzgerald because I'm thinking of the guy from the movie The Quiet Man.
Yeah, he was the fake one, I'm the real one.
You're the real guy, are you? You're not alone because Michael Benson is here with you at the moment. Michael, looking at the paranormal side of things here in Wexford, you want to tell me a little bit about this fella because you said he won't say it himself. Who is this guy?
Well, I mean, people will instantly recognise Barry, I'm sure, from the Sci-Fi Channel and other various channels, of course, on this side of the Atlantic, as the lead investigator with Ghost Hunters International. So no small privilege on our part to have him in Wexford for a while.
Yeah, I normally see him in grey and white cameras, black and white cameras. Just got to get you to come a little bit closer to that microphone, or if you don't mind, Barry. You're here at Wexford. What are you doing here?
We're setting up a series of lectures which are touring Ireland, England, and before heading back to America. And the lectures themselves deal with an aspect of that invisible world, the supernatural, about how it really involves itself in our daily lives, whether we like it or not, and how we can spot that, and how we can readjust that as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there who will think this is all poppycock and don't believe one word of it and say it's all baloney. Mm-hmm. And you get that on a daily basis, maybe on an hourly basis. So what do you say to them?
Our perceptions of what we think this world are extremely limited, and there is much more to this world than what we can even conceive with all our senses. And there is a huge amount more to this world and universe than what we ever believed. And how that affects us on a daily basis is what these lectures are about.
What is the spookiest moment you've ever had, Barry?
Oh my goodness, where do I start?
You can give me several of them if you like.
I would have to say that we recently investigated. It was a city, an Incan city up in the Andes in Peru. Now, these people believe that this huge stone, which was worshipped as their god, it's called a lanzone, and they believed there was a lot of activity happening around this. Now, this lanzone was buried underground, so you went to it through these tunnels. It's quite an imposing structure, I have to say, as we approached it, and this huge big grinning face and fangs and everything carved into it. But in all the tests, for all intents and purposes, it was a huge piece of pink granite. That was it. It was just a stone. But the very moment that we criticised their priests for sacrificing people, that's whenever this stone kicked into life, and it produced a vibration that was just amazing to hear. When we used specialised microphones to lift this from the stone, it was holding a static charge. It was doing everything that it shouldn't have been doing. And I really have to say, at that moment of hearing this and hearing the type of vibration that was coming from it, those people really were tapped into something 3,500 years ago that we now have forgotten.
Yeah.
Yet we were privileged to get to hear this.
Were you threatened by it?
No, not at all.
Were you afraid?
You are a little anxious, I must say. There are times whenever you say, right, I need to get the hell out of here.
Have you known fear on a ghost hunting expedition?
I do from time to time. I have to say now, I did remove myself pretty quickly during an investigation in Transylvania, because there was a particular component to the jigsaw that suddenly fitted into place, and my fight or flight immediately cut in, and my legs had me turned and out of there before my brain even knew what the hell was going on. But it was a frightening experience, I have to say.
And was this Transylvania? We're thinking initially of Dracula, aren't we?
Well, he was there. He was in Rajnov. But it was interesting that during some of the questions that we posed, that I addressed, sometimes we'll use different techniques such as electrical voice phenomena. I addressed them in Romanian, German, and English. And whenever we went back to the recording, we can hear whenever I would address them in English, they don't understand because they were talking to me in Romanian, and their reply was "puftim." Which is, excuse me, say that again.
Yeah.
They didn't understand.
Do you see spirit?
Unless it's sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Have you actually seen ghosts? Have you actually?
I do from time to time. You will catch them. But 9 times out of 10, I find that you will hear them more so than anything else.
Right, we're going to take a wee break. We want to find out more how you got into this in the first place, sure. More about why you're here, Wexford. Maybe Michael will share as well with us. More with Barry Fitzgerald, the Ghost Hunter, in just a moment.
Live for less at Argos. Right now, save half price on selected indoor and outdoor furniture and get an extra 15% off all furniture purchases over €60 on top of all our other offers. Plus, get a free €5 voucher when you spend €50 or a free €10 voucher when you spend €100. Better hurry. Offers end Tuesday. Argos it. Conditions apply.
How about a career doing something you love? The NTC offers certification programs in personal training, Pilates and physical therapy. And now, in partnership with the University of Chester, we're offering 2 excellent new courses, a BSc Honours in Osteopathy and a Master's degree in Neuromuscular Therapy. All our part-time programs are led by qualified industry leaders at locations nationwide. For details about courses and open evenings, visit ntc.ie. The National Training Centre. See who you can be.
Celebrate the Irish American Day Wednesday, July 4th. Come along to our first ever open-air gala concert at the John F. Kennedy Arboretum just outside New Ross, featuring the fabulous 3 tenors.
Stay beside me, say you'll never leave me.
And Declan O'Rourke.
Someone like you made them know.
Barbecue and refreshments available. Gates open at 6 p.m. Book your tickets now at the Dunbrody Visitor Centre and St Michael's Theatre, New Ross on 051 421 255 or online. The 3 tenors and Declan O'Rourke live at the John F. Kennedy Arboretum, Wednesday, July the 4th. Not to be missed.
Southeast Radio Sport.
Allen of Northern Ireland leads Tom Ford of England 5-3.
From Boston, from Brookwood, the goalkeeper. Some great names in those days.
And in Malaysia with Corey Carrington.
Southeast Radio's weekday sports bulletins in association with Lodgewood Engineering's Tool and Garden Machinery Centre Ferns, the largest ride-on mower specialist in the southeast.
Southeast Radio's morning mix, chat, news and your views with Alan Corcoran.
Paranormal investigator Barry Fitzgerald is still here in the studio with us, and so too Michael Benson. Michael, you were saying that he's on in Enniscorthy tonight, but there's no point even looking for tickets because it's sold out.
That's right. I mean, when we knew that Barry was coming, we announced the tickets were available for it, and quite literally 25 minutes later they were gone.
Yeah.
We put on a few more, and the same thing in a matter of moments they were sold. So it's fabulous to know, A, that Barry is coming, and B, that the level of interest is so strong in Wexford, and that seems to be borne out in a number of ways. For example, ourselves as a team, we've noticed that people are becoming more forthcoming in terms of accepting that there may be unexplained activity in their homes and seeking to do something about it. In the last fortnight alone, we would have been contacted by 8 private individuals with regard to possible cases in their homes.
Let's spotlight Wexford then, Barry. You've looked at Loftus Hall, have you? You've looked at Duncannon Fort.
I'm familiar with all of those locations.
Have you been there?
I haven't been to either of them, but I'm definitely familiar with them. Yeah.
Right, but when you look at the whole interest in paranormal activity, let's go back to your beginnings then. Mm-hmm. When did you discover? Were you a young boy? Did you have a vision? What happened?
I think for most people that get involved in this particular field, it is connected with an experience that they had as a child, and certainly I was no different.
What was your experience?
It was Christmas Eve, and I was dead of thirst, and I must have been five or 6 years of age. And I went to go down the stairs. It was a double set of staircases. I looked over the banister, and there was this guy coming up the stairs that I didn't recognise in the middle of the night. Now, immediately, a boy of 5 or 6, I thought, that's Santa. I'm caught. Yeah. No presents this year. Yeah. And I flew back to bed and forced myself to sleep. So for years, I never told my parents. And it was whenever we had left, I must have been 14, 15 years of age, and I said to them, look, there was something strange happening in that house, and my own mother was experiencing the same, but she never told us a lot of the things that was happening in the house as well, and they sheltered us from a lot of the tales of that house.
Do you look at the whole aspect of evil spirits and good spirits and bad spirits? Or do you go that far?
There are good ones and bad ones out there. And that's something that needs to be identified.
How do you differ from a psychic, say? What you do, is it much different from other psychic?
From the lecture standpoint, I go right back into the whole biology of what happens to the body when these things start to interact with us. So there is a biological element to it as well that we can readdress. We can get it back a balance, because sometimes people can be affected from a negative aspect, from some type of oppression from spirit as they come close.
What about poltergeists?
Poltergeists aren't a spirit per se. They themselves are just something which it's a random energy which is triggered by that adolescent mind.
Yeah. Your television appearances, I have a list of them here in front of me.
They're huge.
Yeah, they are, yeah. You're still active on TV, obviously.
Still going, yes.
Right. The legend of Robin, or the spirit of Robin Hood.
Yes.
Tell me more.
That was over. Well, there was two places that we were looking into. Sherwood Forest, and that's where I took a nasty fall. I remember, and then we were at the jailhouse, where there was a lot of spiritual activity reported from that area, and it was connected. A lot of it was connected with the period of Robin Hood. Robin Hood, of course, was a fictional character, but we were very, very interested in what was happening at the jailhouse in those lower dungeon areas, to see if there was some type of connection with from years ago.
Right, and what did you discover?
I can't honestly remember.
Yeah, just an honest answer. Yeah, Michael, your own paranormal activities then?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to get back to a point you made earlier, if people are to be honest with themselves, at some point we probably all have had an experience. I think it's a question of how we talk to ourselves about it and how we reason it away for ourselves as a coping mechanism that changes from person to person. Our own experiences, well, as you know, we were in Loftus, and by reputation alone, that was an interesting place to go to. You know, for me, venue to venue, it's the same wherever we go. It's a question of being open to whatever comes, if anything comes, and basing then what you present on the evidence that you've captured. Duncannon Fort, as was mentioned earlier, is a fascinating place as well. If you go down to the underground rooms where the large cannon was held, I mean, we would have stood in there as a group, heard what sounded like cannon fire, and felt a physical vibration in the ground, albeit that it would appear to be a residual effect from events that have happened in the past, because there is no cannon there anymore.
I believe we're heading there recently.
Yeah, we're going to take a trip down there now.
Why are we hearing these things? Why do you think these things are happening, Barry?
They've always happened. They really have. It's just today in a modern society we have turned our attention away from the inside, from the spiritual, the soul aspect, to a more materialistic world. What we see, we can now love and appreciate, and what we can hold on to. Now that mindset, of course, now we're starting to see a backswing with that, and people are starting to switch back to a more spiritual aspect. But I think we still have that mindset of what we see, we believe. But that's a small part of the picture.
Right. Alcatraz, you were there.
I was indeed, yes. Fantastic place. And I was able to get underneath Alcatraz, where the general public are not allowed to go, down into the lower cells, and really down into the foundations. An amazing place.
All right, amazing place. What happened? Can you remember?
I remember the footsteps. There was growling. There was voices. There was a huge amount of stuff. But then you have a lot of residual energy left there. There was a lot of strong-willed people that were jailed in that place, and some of that still lasts.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find from you, because you're a cool dude. You don't sound to me like a guy, if you pardon the pun, who gets spooked very easily.
Oh, I can get spooked with the best of them. I can scream. My scream can match any other woman's scream. I assure you.
Give me another example of where you were spooked then. You've told us about the Incas, you've told us about one or two little incidents. Have you another one that comes to mind instantly?
In the Philippines, we were investigating the Clark Air Force Base, and that's been closed now since the volcanic explosion there. And underneath there, they have their Vietnam hospital, and we went down into the subterranean parts of that. And I have to say, the only way that I can describe that place is like walking in a living hell. That's as close as I can get with words that people will identify.
Right.
And that was bad. I was literally back to back with my other investigator, and the cameraman, he was shaking. Something was wrong down there. We couldn't see it, but something was wrong. Our fight or flight was cutting in and was screaming at us. Our intuition was screaming at us, "Get out of here!"
It was a hellhole.
It really was, yeah. And it's a place. That's one place that I said I never want to go back to.
Right. The Witch's Castle, that's the last one I asked you about. Where was this?
That was in Austria. And an amazing history to that place. Brutal, absolutely brutal. How we really did brutalize women back in the Middle Ages. It was horrendous, there was a lot of things that were happening there. I've been back to the castle since, making different recordings, and the tower itself seems to present a lot of activity. Strangely enough, the higher up you go in the tower, the worse it gets.
Right.
There's doors opening and closing. You get the footsteps running up and down the stairs and everything else. The typical haunted castle is what you would appreciate in the Alps.
Okay, Michael, just to round off our chat with Barry this morning, just reminding people what it's sold out, so there's no tickets left, but
it is sold out.
What's going to happen tonight?
But that's not to say we couldn't have some sort of residual effect maybe and have Barry come back at a later point. But it's a 3-hour lecture tonight. It's going to be phenomenal to have the opportunity for us, and even though there's going to be experienced investigators at it, to have the opportunity to learn from the 20 years of Barry's experience is going to be an amazing opportunity. It really is, and in a wonderful location that is Enniscorthy Castle, which itself has yielded some interesting results.
Yeah.
Jim, who we know, has now given us enough information that we've actually located him in the 1901 census. We can factually point to the fact that this man existed. Not that for me it's about proof, because all we can ever do is go to a location, say here's where we went, here's what we did, here's what we caught, make of it what you will.
Right.
It's important to leave space for the individual to place themselves within it.
And for those who doubt you, Barry, what do you say to them?
Come along to the lecture. That'll change their mind.
Good to talk to you. Nice way to round off today's show. I feel a chill in the studio as we speak. You get a presence here. You haven't got your gear with you, have you?
No, I haven't, no.
Who are you going to call? Ghost Hunters, right? We'll be back with you again tomorrow between 10 and 12 for the Wednesday edition of your morning mix.
You could win